Okay. Good morning. I'm so sorry. Good evening, all dear students. We are starting with the session that is a management of industrial relation, and in this today we are covering the topic that is related to grievances. Okay, so what we are basically going to explore today. So we'll first start with the concept known as what is grievances all about. Okay, so giving you a highlight about grievances all about is that in a workplace, there are certain issues, or you can say a complaint kind of a stuff, okay, where, employee is feeling unsatisfied or dissatisfied or it's not happy with the working environment or might be the terms and condition involved in an organization. So then such kind of thing, then in such scenario, a complaint or issue is arised. Then this issue, if it is put forward towards supervisor in a formal way, that means you're basically as an employee writing it down, then what are the difficulties or issues you're facing in working environment during your work life, that is during your employment time, then this specific complaint letter becomes a grievance. Okay, so this I have just given you a layman explanation. So it's basically a formal employee complaint that is an accusation, or you can say the complaint for violation of workplace contract terms or policies or conditions. It could be complaint about anything regarding being non-compliant in workplace or in non-compliant in work policies. So it can come from, or this grievances can get arised from an individual or might be from a group of employees. It is obviously, as I highlighted, it's a feeling of dissatisfaction or insecurity or might be injustice, unfair kind of a treatment. Okay, that is being highlighted to the management that this is wrong. Okay. Then, when I'm speaking broadly about, grievances, it's very important to highlight a basic difference between dissatisfaction, complaint, and grievance. Okay, so I'll highlight that thing as well. So, dissatisfaction would be anything that disturbs an employee and that makes him or her uncomfortable. Okay, there I'm talking about complaint. It will be spoken or might be a written dissatisfaction brought to the attention of the supervisor. Then I talk about the grievance. Then grievance is a complaint that has been formally presented to a management representative or to a union official. Okay, so dissatisfaction is the feeling that will lead to complaint, and complaint, if it's presented in front of management or you can say union, then in a formal way, then it turns out to be a grievance. Okay, so I hope that is the basic difference that help you to understand the concept of what grievance is all about. Then I talk about different characteristics that are involved in a grievance. So the grievance can be factual, the grievance can be imaginary, or the grievance can be disguised. Okay, so what is a factual grievance all about? See, when I talk about employee and employer relation, so that is being maintained in an organization by terms and condition that has been specified in your employment contract. Okay, and there are certain rules and regulations that as per the labor laws employer has to follow. Okay, then nowadays there are environmental standards also. Then there are things beyond this kind of rules and regulation, that is sustainable development concept is there, that is just getting hype nowadays. So there is loads of responsibility that employer has to look forward for the good or healthy relationship between employees and employer. Then they have to look forward for their health concerns are also there associated. So quality of work life they have to maintain. So they have loads of pressure to go about it. So when I talk about factual things, it would be related to the terms and conditions which are basically laid down. Okay, so the policies are there, the contract you have signed between you and your employer would be. So if violation of any of this conditions that is in your employment contract, or might be any of the violation to your work or job, might be you have been laid off without a reason, or there is a discrimination in a promotion, or performance appraisal is very good and still you haven't got the right kind of position. So these are based on facts and figure. So such kind of a thing that comes under, or you can classify under, factual grievances. Okay, then we talk about imaginary one. So imaginary one would be like you are expecting something from your employer because of terms and condition, but that is not mentioned in any of the policies, or that is not written anywhere in or that is not verbally expressed also, but you're just expecting it because you feel that you're working for an employer, so he or she is responsible for such good things. Suppose I'm working, so I need an AC room, or might be a good ventilation or good lighting system because it affects my health. Okay, so this is not written in any contract. So the complaint arising out of such issues would be treated as imaginary one, and then we classify the grievances arising out of such kind of issues would be the imaginary grievances. Okay, then I talk about disguised grievances. So in general, what happened is organization is just concerned with the basic requirement of their employees. Like they have to provide good working conditions, they have to take care of cleanliness, they have to take care of safety cares, health issues related to job. But psychological aspect is not covered under any terms or condition, or you can say about in employment contract. Okay, so that kind of a stuff, which the psychological expectation of an employee, which they feel that organization should fulfill. Okay, and because of unfulfillment of such kind of a requirement from an organization or an employer side, that leads to such certain kind of issues. So we term such kind of a complaints or issues as a disguised issues or disguised grievances. Like I'm expecting a lot of appreciation from my senior because I'm putting lots of hard work, okay, and he or she is not turning up the way I'm expecting. This is the psychological expectation. It's her or his way of working with the juniors, okay? But then I'm putting my 200% and I'm expecting some kind of, appreciation. I'm not getting it. So I feel disguised, dismotivated, or you can say not at all motivated to work. Then because of that, I can raise a complaint like I'm not satisfied with the working team in which you have placed me. So this is the way, so we can treat this kind of issue as a disguised grievance. Then there are so many different causes of a grievance. The first thing, or the first important cause of grievance that arises from a issue like morality. That means you're expecting some kind of a moral behavior from your employer or an organization. So like what the management thinks about its worker, and how they are implementing certain kind of policies that motivate their employees, or how they're giving the opportunities to express their workers or employees properly, or might be if there is an issue, they're resolving it very promptly, and they're continuously improving their policies and practices inside the organization. So that highlights the morality. And if this is not happening, that means this can give rise to grievances. Okay, then next is a working environment. Okay, this is a basic thing that give rise to the grievances. There are poor working conditions, faulty machines are there, bad or negative attitude of the supervisor or team is there, behavior of top management is not proper with the workers or employees, favoritism is there, and strained relations are there. Then you can talk about excessive discipline or defective kind of a promotions, layoff and retrenchment, which is a huge headache, when some kind of economic up and down is happening. Then inadequate health and safety gears are there. So this also leads to grievances. Then economic manners are there. That means economic issues like wage fixations are there, incentives are there, allowances is there. There is some kind of a demand for welfare activities or equipments, inadequate bonuses, or payment of overtime is not proper. So this all also leads to grievances. Then there is a supervision. Of course, everyone who is working in an organization needs proper guidance, needs proper mentorship to work for, and needs a proper leader to follow. So if that is not there, then also, you know, grievances can be there in place. So work group is there. So your colleagues, your peers, or the people whom you are interacting so much during working hours, so you're unable to adjust with them, or you suffer for a feeling of neglection or isolation. Victimization is there, humiliation is there, somebody's making fun of you or might be, you know, behaving in a very ridiculous manner. So this also gives rise to grievances. Then maladjustment of the employee. In this, employer is not responsible for grievances. It's the individual is responsible for the grievances. The reason is what? You know, the employee has a very bad attitude, or there is a lack of interest. Then the machinery in place to handle grievances. At present, we have three legal provision provided by our Indian legal system that takes care of grievance procedure. That means this law has made it compulsory for an organization to have proper grievance mechanism. Okay, so the first one is the Industrial Employment, that is Standing Order Act 1946. It says that any organization that has workforce strength more than 100, so they are supposed to have proper readdressal mechanism of grievances in place. Then the Factories Act 1946 highlight that, you know, there is a welfare officer need to be appointed for, you know, for such organizations who has workforce more than 500. Okay, so this welfare officer takes care of the grievances, complaint and the grievance procedure. Then there is another act, that is Industrial Dispute Act 1947, which was amended in 1965, and it is highlighted in that amendment. You know, the organization should have proper grievance mechanism to deal with the issue, like, you know, you are basically laying off, or there is a discharge or dismissal or retrenchment of an employee based on some improper grounds. So in such situation also, we are looking forward for proper grievance mechanism. So what is this grievance mechanism I'm talking about so far? Okay, the grievance mechanism is basically the steps that an organization or management has to follow to address the complaint step by step and try to sort it out at initial level. Okay, before rising it up to the next level. But yes, there are the procedures where the employee can take it to the higher level also. Okay, until he or she feels that this is sorted out. Okay, then what are the important steps in grievance handling? Okay, when I talk about steps in grievance handling, the first foremost important step would be acknowledging the dissatisfaction. Okay, now when I talk about dissatisfaction, then dissatisfaction arises because of so many things I have discussed with you so far, like causes of grievances are. So suppose right now in this place, if I don't have proper you know, ventilation might be, so I'll work for 2 days, I'll work for 7 days comfortably, but you know, after 7 days I'll start feeling you know, issue of suffocation, might be breathlessness, or maybe I'll feel like dull delivering or doing my work in such kind of environment when there is no proper ventilation. Or if there is a proper ventilation, there is no proper lighting system. So that affects my health. As you see, I have spectacles on already. So, you know, that affects my eyes very badly. So in this case, I'm just feeling uncomfortable to work at this workplace. Okay, so I'll highlight this issue to my senior or team leader. So the foremost important, you know, response I'm expecting from them would be they should empathize with my situation, that yes, she must be suffering from something in a work environment. So this is very important, that acknowledging the dissatisfaction of an employee that he or she is going through. What happens is sometimes you try to voice some kind of dissatisfaction or complaint in front of your senior or your team leader. Then they just say, okay, yeah, boss, everybody else is working. You are only the one who has all the problems. Then you go to Mars or Moon to work. Or you just hire your own office or cubicle and then you do the working. So that is a wrong attitude. So that's, we are not actually expecting, you know, out of our senior. Okay. Then there would be define the problem. What happened is, we as an employee, half, or you can say that 80% of employee actually don't know what are the laws that have been laid down and how to address a complaint or issue in an organization. So this is very important for an organization that during orientation they should have such kind of topic to be covered and highlighted. But they are highlighting that there are certain rules and regulations. There are certain kinds of forms that need to be filled out in case you are facing some kind of a trouble or issues related to this reason. Even that has happened, that there was a harassment issues for women employees, and that has been highlighted, but still it's going on. Okay, so whistleblowing, what we call a new concept, is all about that. Means you need to raise voice. So, but there should be a proper mechanism and a guidance available for each and every employee. Might be he or she is working in a corporate office, might be he or she is a worker in your organization, or might be he or she is just as a peon or a cleaning staff. Okay, so everybody should be aware of what are the basic requirements they need to follow so that they can raise a voice. Okay, so define the problem. Then the other problem what these people actually encounter in an organization is they don't know how to use the proper words for their complaint. So suppose I have an issue right now with a ventilation system. So I'll say ventilation system problem. But what ventilation system problem? Like you are unable to breathe, you are getting some kind of sickness or nausea, or you're feeling headache, or you're just feeling some kind of a dullness or something like that. So I need a medical certificate now for this. So this is how it is. So I need a proper words to voice my complaint. Okay, so that would be helped out either with senior people who are working in an organization, or either this help can be extended by my senior, immediate senior or supervisor. That boss, if this is the issue, you have to write it down in this way, and this will be the proper way to represent your issue or concern. Get the facts is the another important steps in grievance handling. So when I talk about get the facts, that means we are looking forward for information related to the issue that has been highlighted by our employee. Okay, so when I talk about issue, so first of all, like ventilation issue is there, and that I have highlighted to my senior in writing. Okay, so now the next step my senior should take is he should get involved personally and first check the system that what I have raised an issue is an issue or not, first of all, or is that I am feeling like that. Suppose if I feel like the AC is on 24 and I'm feeling suffocation, so that is my personal problem. Okay, then there is no need to highlight it. But there is no AC, there is no proper windows, or the windows have very foul smells or something like that, then yes boss, there is no proper ventilation. Okay, so it's very important for the seniors, for even the worker who are raising the issue, to collect all the facts before presenting their grievances. Okay, so as far as employee is concerned, they also have to present the facts. As far as this immediate senior or supervisor is concerned, to whom the facts or complaint has been presented, they are also supposed to gather the different facts related to issue that has been highlighted. Okay, then there is analyze and decide. It's very important to have proper or fair treatment. Okay, so when I talk about fair treatment or natural justice law we have to follow, or you can say about fairness or equality that we keep on talking about, in a regular day-to-day life. So what it is all about. So basically, when we are talking about that analyze and decide, that means the facts that has been provided by an employee, the facts that have been collected by an senior or supervisor, everything needs to get analyzed in a proper way, in a fair way, and then the proper decision should be given on that specific issue. Okay, if the senior are understanding that yes, there is a ventilation problem, and then they're giving up some kind of a solution, either they're changing the place of that employee, or might be they're coming up with a solution to have proper ventilation system. But to have proper ventilation system, till that time I'm supposed to work in different place. So that different place is being allocated to me, and then it should be ensured that it is properly ventilated. Otherwise, I'll have the same issue again. Okay, so this is the case that needs to be tackled. So then there should be a proper follow-up system should be there. Like if this decision is being given, the steps need to be taken, then there should be a follow-up system that yes, the steps which has been taken or which has been decided to be taken upon, they are actually getting followed up. That means they have been started executing. Then there are two ways to sort out the grievances. Okay. So first and foremost important thing is open door type. Okay, so when I talk about open door type, the grievances can be taken directly to the senior management. In front of them, it needs to be presented with all the facts and figures and observation, and then we have to expect that senior management will revert with some kind of solution to it. Okay, so this is the first way. Then there is another way. That is very popular one, and that is very formal one. That kind we call it as step ladder type. So grievance procedure, it basically consists of going through a number of stages. Okay, so I'll just highlight what are the important stages in this. Suppose the employee has started facing some kind of issue, so he will try to highlight it to the senior in informal way. Okay, but then when they feel that no, it's not getting sorted out, or there is no proper results are coming out because of informal way, then that specified aggrieved employee, that means who is a person who is having actually the grievance. Okay, so that specific person, what will he or she will do is he or she will write down the proper complaint and hand it over to the senior or supervisor, that we termed it as departmental representative. Then after receiving a formal complaint, okay, the departmental representative has to act upon it within 2 days. There is a time limit that has been prescribed. Okay, how that specific complaint need to be presented to departmental representative? There is an annexure 1 that needs to be designed, okay, or that needs to be designed under the rules and regulation that has highlighted the importance of this grievance mechanism, and that needs to be handed over to the aggrieved employee. And once aggrieved employee feels that that aggrieved employee has to fill up this form, okay, and that he or she has to hand it over to the departmental representative. And after handing over the form, then within next 2 days they are supposed to expect the result on it. If still the aggrieved employee does not feel that the issue has not been sorted out as the way he is expecting, so what they can do is they can fill up another form that is known as annexure 2. Okay, and annexure 2 form needs to be filled and by aggrieved employee, and it's need to be handed over to the head of the department, that means senior of my immediate supervisor. Okay, so after doing this, so after receiving such kind of a form from aggrieved employee, the head of the department has to act in 3 days. They have to come up with some kind of a solution, and then they have to put a remark or suggestion for the improvement or sorting out of that issue, then hand it over to both. One copy needs to be handed over to the senior, that means departmental representative, and one copy needs to be handed over to the aggrieved employee. Okay. Next, I talk about unit grievance committee. So when I talk about unit grievance committee, if the employee is not satisfied with the head of department result, suggestions or remarks, then he is supposed to fill an annexure 3 form, and then that form he is supposed to submit it to unit grievance committee. This committee is basically made when such kind of form is being filled by an aggrieved employee. It consists of 10 members. 5 members would be from the management side and 5 members would be from union side. Okay. Then both the teams would analyze the facts, information presented by employee. Then they will also do all the facts finding from their end. Okay, and then once they have all the data, they'll analyze it proper and they'll try to give the fair, decision for such kind of grievances. So if the employees feel that it is fine, then he will accept it, and that's need to be done within 7 to 10 working days. So suppose today is a Monday, I'm submitting a report, okay, the form to unit grievance committee. So now count from here, there will be 6 working days and then the next 4. So might be on next Thursday I'll get my result. Okay, so there are time limits under which the specific committee has to act. Otherwise, the aggrieved employee has all the right to take it further to the next step, even though the result has not declared, because there are time frames associated with the specific levels. Then if that specific employee is still not convinced with the unit grievance committee, then again they will move to the central grievance committee, where senior top management people will be involved. Okay, and they'll try to sort out the issues within 7 to 10 working days. And if they are also feeling, if still the aggrieved employee is feeling that, okay, still he is not satisfied with the result, then finally both the parties, that means the management and the employee, they'll decide for voluntary arbitration. So when I talk about arbitration, is that I'm asking for third party intervention so that the third party can listen to my issues as an employee. That means the issue of the aggrieved employee. Then the management, points he needs to understand, and whatever the suggestion has been given so far to sort out the specific grievance need to be considered, reviewed, analyzed, then worked upon the data and the information that is related to that specific issue, and then finally they have to give certain kind of decision. But once the employee is opting for voluntary arbitration, the foremost important thing would be whatever the decision the arbiter is giving, that's need to be followed by both employee and the management. Okay, so this is how the settlement of grievance takes place. So once you opt for voluntary or arbitration, that means you have to be bound by the decision of the arbitrator. This is also a very popular concept, voluntary arbitration. Beyond that, there are concepts where employees can move to labor court also. There are tribunals, the industrial tribunals. By state governments, there are national tribunals if the concern is very high. So many cases are there which can be referred back, and then certain terms and conditions need to be revised. Amendment happen because of such kind of issues. So grievance is not a small thing. If we are thinking that, okay, I have a complaint with the ventilation, still the same example going on in my mind. So it would be something very, very serious. Okay, it's not the mechanism which I have explained or highlighted to you guys. You will feel like, okay, oh God, this mechanism just for ventilation issue. No, the ventilation was an example. There would be loads many issues. There was an issue I remember about HIV when that disease has been founded out, that there is existence of such kind of a disease. So there were people who were discharged from the duty on the basis of this health issues, so which was completely wrong. And people have fought for their right and they have won the cases. So there are n number of cases that needs to be referred and try to understand how important it is to address the grievances so far. Okay, so we will move to the next one. So now, as we have highlighted, what are the procedure or what are the steps someone has to take for grievance redressal mechanism, and what are the different steps the management has to keep in mind, okay, before addressing any grievances. There are certain kind of prerequisites of grievance procedures. So we'll try to explore that kind of, prerequisites of grievance procedure. So the first would be conformity with statutory provisions. That means the rules, regulations that has highlighted the need of grievance mechanism or the procedures or the officers, whoever is going to address that issue, that organization has to follow. As I have highlighted also, 100 and more as per the Standing Order Act is there, then Industrial Dispute Act is there, then Factories Act is there, So every whatever the statutory provisions have been provided by our constitution, the organization has to stick to it, and considering that kind of rules and regulation, they have to come up with improved grievance mechanism procedures. Then unambiguity, that means the grievance mechanism should be in a place, like they should be clear and concise, like the procedures, or how to highlight it to your senior, the way I have explained you the step ladder method. Okay, so it was very clear. First is departmental representative, then HOD is there, then unit grievance committee, then central committee is there, and then voluntary arbitration is there. So this is very clear how we have to take our grievances from one step to next step. So that kind of clarity is required whenever you're presenting the grievance procedure mechanism to your employee. It should not happen that I'm presenting something else and then we are following something else. Okay, so that unambiguous situation need to be maintained. Next is simplicity. Simplicities would be, like I have highlighted while discussing with you guys, that there are forms need to be filled. So the forms need to be very simple. It does not happen that I have a 10 pages of form to be filled up by me before raising my voice for certain small issue. Okay, or might be some issue which is harassing me like anything. Okay, so this is there. So unambiguous and then simplicity. That means it should be very simple procedure to be followed and understood basically. Then promptness. Promptness would be in a both way to address the grievance. The management is not taking too much of time to address that specific grievance that has been raised. And then whatever the decision they have been taken, they're ensuring that they are promptly implemented. And there is a follow-up and evaluation also, that whatever the decision that has been given and that aggrieved employee has accepted are proper or not, and they are implemented properly. Then we talk about training. This is very important because I've highlighted in one step, in step ladder method, is that unit grievance committee, it includes people from management and people from union. Okay, so when I talk about training, the training, that means the proper training should be given to the management guys also, and the proper training should be given to the union representative also, who are supposed to address the grievance at any stage. Okay, so the proper training needs to be in a place. Then we have a follow-up. So when I talk about follow-up, okay, that means there should be a proper evaluation mechanism in place. There should be a feedback mechanism in place. There should be a control mechanism in place. There should be, so when I talk about control mechanism, it would be that the management and employee, they both should understand the way the decision or whatever the, you can say the results have come out of the grievance addressal mechanism. That has been accepted, that has been followed, and time to time it is being checked. So suppose I have a ventilation issue, the same example I'm carrying forward with you guys. Okay, so when I talk about ventilation issue, so once the ventilation is corrected, then there should be some kind of inspection, a surprise inspection, that is checking in every 6 months or maybe in 3 months that the ventilation system is working. And I talk about feedback system, then there should be a feedback taken by all the employees, that this issue has been raised by 1 or 2 employees, but then what others are feeling about the same issues. So that is there in scenario. Then I talk about, proper evaluation. That means the ventilation system that has been implemented by my employer, that is proper, that is as per good standards, and that is something not like that, okay, there is a small temporary arrangement or small window cutout has been happened and then some animals are jumping out of it when I'm working, if I'm giving a lecture to you guys and something is popping out of my window, that will be very weird thing. So there should be a proper, follow-up, evaluation and control mechanism is there. So now I'll try to highlight one important thing, is that impact of grievances. Why it is very important that we have to have mechanism. Why it is very important that the mechanism needs to follow some kind of prerequisites. So there are certain impact of grievances that we need to avoid. Okay, so when I talk about the impact of grievances, it is all about indiscipline. that can be the result of grievances. So if I'm not satisfied, so you cannot expect me to follow all the rules and regulation when as an employer you're not following any rules and regulation. Okay, so the indiscipline thing is there. Then unrest and unhappiness. Obviously, if working conditions are not proper, if relationship between seniors and colleagues are not proper, I am uncomfortable to work for such organization, and then that will definitely give rise to dissatisfaction issue, and at the end I'll quit my job. So attrition rate will be very high. So that is another thing that we need to deal with. Then low productivity. When I talk about low productivity, obviously if I'm not motivated, I'm not happy, and I'm not following any rules and regulation, then there will be an issue. There will be conflicts with my colleagues if I'm not following any kind of report formatting, or I'm not following, reporting my task at the end of the day to my senior. So there will be conflicts between me and my senior. So low productivity. So such kind of situation will obviously hampers my productivity, my morale. So my involvement in job will get reduced. Poor quality of production. If I'm not enthusiastic and motivated at all to work for my job, so then I'll definitely don't opt for any kind of thing. Like if I'm not following the disciplines, I'm not following the rules and regulation, I'm unhappy, my involvement is less, then whatever things I'll be doing, that will be of not that kind, or that won't meet the expectations of organization or my head or my department. Okay, then increase in absenteeism. That is a very good thing. People like to skip from the situation instead of facing it. Okay, so if we have an issue, we feel like, okay, I'll take a break. So I'll try to have put some kind of a medical issues and try to have a break from the job. So that is there. When talk about corporate politics is there, when somebody's harassing you, when somebody's not allowing to work as per your rules or your methods. Okay, then you feel like very dissatisfied. So, such kind of a non-cooperation will lead to increase in your absenteeism. Then, obviously, these all things are linked to attrition rate. So, this will increase the employee turnover. Then, increase in wastage and cost. Obviously, if my productivity will get hampered, if my absenteeism is more, if my, you can say the quality is low, then obviously the wastage and the cost will get increased for that specific kind of work. Loss of interest in work, and then obviously it will lead to lack of moral and commitment. Okay, so these are all the impact of grievances that are interlinked with each other. So if I am at certain point, or if I am facing certain thing, it will lead to all other things to come in picture. So it's all cyclic thing. Then why it is so important to handle the grievance? See, as I've told you that these are the impact of the grievances. So it's very important to handle the grievances in the first go. Otherwise, what will happen? The overall organizational effectiveness will get hampered. So it's very important that we are addressing the issue right away, promptly, in one go. Then I talk about quite often minor grievances gets accumulated. Okay, major problems creep, like work stoppages are there, lockouts are there, strikes are there. Then they will cause in turn a long-term damage to the productivity. Okay, so these are the things that we need to avoid it. So therefore, it is very important and essential to handle the grievances at the earliest possible moment. So what can be the role of human resource manager when you talk about the grievance? Okay, so what happened is, first, the very important role what we are expecting from an HR manager, he or she must be aware of what are the reasons behind the specific grievance and how to set them right. Okay, then his skill should be in observing things like behaviorism, the attitude, the habits. They have to make a note of it. Okay, the people who are trying to come and they feel like, okay, we get some kind of fishy feeling about the person, that this person is not comfortable, this person is doing something bad. So this comes out as an instinct to me when I'm observing things clearly. So as an HR manager, you need to be very, very alert in a situation like this. Then they have to explore the best possible method of settling the grievances. So when I talk about settling the grievances, it should be first open door system. So when you know that your HR manager is approachable, still you're working in a marketing department, you have an issue with the marketing senior. But if that person is approachable, you can definitely come to that person and he or she will definitely try to sort it out at first level, and that is too informally before it's getting converted into formal complaint letter. Okay. Then he has to act as a mediator. He or she has to act as a mediator between top management and the line managers, and then line managers and the employees, okay, or the workers. So they have to help during certain interval of time that, see boss, this can be an issue that can take a form of grievances soon. So as a top management, what things you need to do at your end, as a senior or line managers, what things you need to follow so that to avoid such kind of a situation in future. Okay, so that is the expectation is there when HR manager is acting as a mediator. Then they have to also formulate certain kind of HR policies, rules and regulations or procedures that help to avoid such kind of instances that give rise to grievances, or that helps to keep in a place such kind of instances that helps to sort out the grievances in a very simple manner, instead of going till that voluntary arbitration kind of a stuff. Okay, that would be very hectic. Okay, so effective grievance handling mechanism or procedure should be in place, and HR manager should play a very important role in doing that. Then there are things that I have already highlighted as the important steps of grievance mechanism. Okay, but there are certain things we are expecting from the people who are handling the grievances. So they need to be very genuine. They need to be a good listener. Okay, that means a person is very genuine that means some person is empathizing the situation of that aggrieved employee who is basically suffering from that situation. Okay, so that is there. Or it should not happen that, if something bad is highlighted by an employee and he or she does not have a good record earlier, so that don't need to be highlighted during the grievance mechanism procedure. The reason is that person is really right now suffering from something. So we have to be a little bit genuine and empathize the situation. Be aware. It's very important that the people who are involved in the things, the agencies, the rules, law enforcement, the amendments that is being happening or that has a direct impact on the grievance handling mechanism, that need to be aware by the top management or the people who will be handling the grievance issues in future. And obviously the decision should be based on proper judgment and the visionary things or forecasting things needs to be considered. That if today we handle the grievance in a proper manner, that will definitely help and boost up the workforce morale. It does not happen that I'll have some kind of a temporary solution and then in future we have to suffer again the same grievances. Thank you.